what do you see as long-term future looking like?
Ninth hamstring injury in 5 years. This is tragic. We're talking about when fit, and we've not seen that for a while. One of the best right-backs in world football. My heart bleeds for him because the effort, the hard work that he's done to get fit and then try and stay fit. Maresca is managing his minutes. You can see that, the way that he hasn't played him the same way he's played Gusto, the same way he hasn't played Cucurella, being that second eight or being that joining up to go and help out, whether it be Madueke, whether it had to be Neto, go and join and help out on that left-hand side, as it was Felix at the weekend. The club might have a decision to make because Enzo's vice-captain, which is another head-scratcher when you think about what he went through in the summer. But it is what it is right now. I think moving forward, the club have got a decision to make whether he is going to be the club captain. If they take the armband off him, what does that tell you? It's a big public statement. That's a big call. It's a massive call for the club to say, we don't think you're going to be fit enough to play for us, therefore we've got to take the captaincy off you. Reece, for me, is my captain. But if he can't play every single week, it feels...
almost like a gesture to have him as captain.
We gave it to you and therefore you've got to keep it. It's a real tricky one, Leonie. It's a real tough one, this. And I'm sure people at the club, everyone at the club, will know that decision we made, we don't know how bad his hamstrings injury yet. There's no update on that as we speak. Fingers crossed it's not as bad, but it does... I worry for Reece that this is going to be an ongoing problem he has to manage throughout the rest of his career, and that's terribly sad.
It is so sad. And I think with Reece James, he's such a good player that Chelsea fans are never going to give up on him because we've seen him at his pomp. A compilation came up on my Twitter of him against Juventus, and you look at the performance he put in there. At that point in time, I do believe that we were the best team in the world. But he was unbelievable. The chest down, the goal he scored, ability to get up and down the tackles, how aggressive he was. Honestly, on this day, he's the best right-back in the world. But we don't see that day very often because he's consistently injured. And I don't think there's one Chelsea fan that's sitting there with malice in their heart towards Reece James because we all feel what he's going through right now. He's tried his best to get fit and it's a perpetual issue in terms of hamstring injuries. And unfortunately, at Chelsea, or maybe it's fortunate, being a captain is so symbolic. From Marcel Desailly to John Terry to Gary Cahill to Azpilicueta. These are people that led the dressing room as well as leaders on the pitch. And unfortunately, if you're not on the pitch, you can't offer that. And I think that's where Reece might struggle in terms of being that dominant voice in the change room because if you're not showing it over 90 minutes, week in, week out, then it's hard to really be that influential figure. And the club have got a decision to make because like Jay's touched on, Enzo Fernandez is our vice-captain. I don't necessarily think that he doesn't give me captaincy vibes despite the fact that he has been playing well in recent weeks. So it's a difficult situation Chelsea are in because, again, like Jay said, if you take it off of him, that's making a huge statement. And then what does that mean for his long-term future at the football club?
Yeah.
But mentally as well, isn't it? I mean, to go through all these injuries in such a I can't speak. I'm well enough there.
But can you imagine what you must be going through on a personal level, on a human level?
Yeah.
You know, having to... I know what it's like. In my career through injury, I know what it's like. It's one thing getting fit, it's another thing staying fit.
Yeah.
That's key. And because he's been out so often throughout the last 4 or 5 years, it's then getting enough games under his belt. You need a block of something like 10 to 15 games where you're playing the vast majority of those to get yourself up and then your body feel comfortable. It's tough.
Well, sorry, Matisse.
I was going to say, with him, I think as well, this is a player that was linked with Real Madrid at his peak level. He would have been the best right-back, hands down, in this Premier League. He would have been starting for England. I think he would have provided the best balance between defence and attack. And there's two comparisons. It's either the Robben comparison, where he had the injury issues at Chelsea and he went over to Bayern Munich, he got over those in the end and we saw a world-class player. Or it's, maybe even a Jack Wilshere, Arsenal fans would relate to that, that's a world-class talent. That's a player that absolutely was fantastic against Barcelona, man in the match, and just never got over his injuries. And I think Chelsea fans are toying with which outcome are we going to get. But one thing I will say is I think this is very dependent on a couple of things. One, is Gusto good enough to be our starting right-back and give Reece James that time to recover and to be bed back into this team slowly once again? Will Chelsea renew the contract of Acheampong, which is a really talented young defender at Cobham, which I think it would be good to see Chelsea not have to spend money on a replacement for Reece James or on another right-back and say, right, we can leave you to kind of recover and recuperate because we have someone that is not even going to cost us a penny coming through that's really talented and create that dynamic. And also, is it time to look at Reece James in a less demanding role again and maybe even as a centre-back? When he played against Newcastle, he was fantastic on aerial duels. He was making incredible blocks. I know it's not the Reece James we all want to see in terms of getting up and down and getting forward, goals, crosses, but he could do a job at centre-back. He's played it in the academy. He's definitely able to play in that Fofana position we saw in the back three, just becoming that wide defender. And we've seen it even under Maresca with him going to left-back. I think we have to almost maybe potentially change the idea of what Reece James is, and that might just keep him together for a bit longer. But it is difficult. I personally can't give up on him. He's too good and too young.
No, not at all. And he is our captain, as you say, Jace, and we all feel it, and we just wish him all the best and hope to see him very soon. Another player who, let's be honest, people are trying to injure left, right and centre, is our Cole Palmer. Unbelievable. Matisse, do you think we need to protect him more? What's going on there? We saw the Ndidi foul. Let's throw it in there. Was it a red card? We saw the Martinez foul against United.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Do we need to protect him more? And do you think that the one at the weekend against Ndidi was a red card?
I mean, how do we go about protecting him? I'm seeing players this weekend, they don't even wear shin pads anymore. I'm seeing Diblin.
Yeah, he wants double shin pads, doesn't he?
He needs double shin pads. I think with Cole Palmer now, this is like the next phase of his development where he kind of burst onto the Premier League scene last season, put up an incredible statistical season, and on the eye test was unbelievable. And everybody was like, wow, we didn't see this coming. This season now, everybody's looking at him. They know that he's the leader of our attack. They know he's the brain of the attack. The IQ is incredible. Even when he's not the centre of attention, you just look at his little touches, the way he's able to manipulate the ball, go past players, and almost just create for others and say, right, I'll put it on a plate for you, you and you. But we do need to look at, I guess, the overall standard of refereeing in the country as well, because we can't protect him as fans. The manager can't protect him. He has to play him. And players, they can get into a scuffle after he's been fouled, but they can't protect him either. At the end of the day, it's down to the referees, which has been a lot of controversy over the last few weeks about refereeing in England, as there has been for years. They're the ones that have got to identify that Palmer is being targeted, he is being hacked down, and start to give players bookings for those challenges, regardless of what time they are in the game. You can manage the game with common sense, 100%, but if someone hacks a player down, you've got to book them, and then they can't do that again, or they're risking being sent off, and that is how you get over it in the end. So he's playing in that 10, and it's so congested. Unless the only thing Chelsea can do is just add, or players can do, is just add more quality around him, or those players step up to higher levels so he's not as targeted. You look at a Hazard, if we had given him a Bale, or some that kind of Modric to a Lampard, that's how you kind of balance out a team and say, right, you can't just look at Cole Palmer, because if you do, we've got other world-class players on the pitch. Yeah.
No, definitely. And you touched on something there. Jace, do you think he needs more protection from referees?
Welcome to being one of the best players in the league, by the way. This is what he's got to deal with. Best players get special players get special treatment on the pitch. And what I mean by that is Hazard went through it. I watched a video of Maradona when he was in Italy, right? This is going to happen. It's because the way the game is refereed, now officiated, they now are more protected. You can only do so much as a referee. Palmer has now got to start to think a little bit quicker, because he likes touching them. He's brilliant. But the more touches on the ball, more chance you're going to get kicked. He might now have to start thinking a bit smarter. He might have to adapt, because this is nothing new in football. The best players, up against the best players, I was told, can you give him a whack? Can you get close to him? Can you just... And that's what you do. This is an age-old problem in football. And because the way the game has changed, you want the best players to be given more time. Well, that's OK, but when you haven't touched the ball for 15, 16 minutes, and you're in Diddy in the middle of the park, a bit of frustration creeps in, you're going to whack him. The referee's there to do his job. All you can do is what Matisse said, John Terry will be around him. We need now leaders on the pitch. Get round the referee, get in his ear, speak to the referee. It's the second time that's happened. Now you've got to start having some leaders that try to influence the referee. But Palmer's going to have to live with this, because this ain't going away. Mm-hmm. This special treatment on a special player is going to continue. He might have to just adapt his game a bit quicker. Hazard went through it, but you think about Hazard. Hazard was one of those players that would wait for the kick, would accept the kick, because it was a tough little thing. You remember some of the whacks he took. He was brave. He knew that he would take a player on, he would tow it away, he'd have to ride challenges. Yeah. And this is what Palmer's going to have to do. This is new to him.